Now to a very interesting take on the latest twists and turns in the race for the White House with my next guest writing in the Wall Street Journal. Donald Trump is the new Bill Clinton, and if he does pull off a win in November, it will be in good part because of a culture that Hillary Clinton did much to create. Bill McGurn is Main Street columnist for the Wall Street Journal. He is former chief speechwriter for George W. Bush, and he joins me now. It's a very interesting article. You start with this idea that a lot of people have thought about and sort of chuckled at in maybe a worried way. If Hillary Clinton is elected, he, Bill Clinton, will return to the White House, this time as first spouse, with all the perks and none of the responsibilities. We can all let our imagination run with what that is. In the end, though, if Trump wins, it will be because the Clintons and Hillary Clinton made this sort of behavior acceptable for politicians many years ago. Is that your point?
Absolutely. Starting with Jennifer Flowers, whom Bill Clinton lied about in a public address at the very beginning of his national career. The Clintons always argued, one, either Bill Clinton lied and said, I didn't have sex with this woman, or when that became impossible to do, he said, well, this is just lying about sex, and so therefore all the other stuff doesn't really matter. You know, before Bill Clinton, if you had said, if a president is caught having sexual relations with an intern, no one would have thought that they could survive that. I mean, the common wisdom on both sides was that the decent thing to do in that case is to resign and so forth. But the Clintons don't do that. They don't do the decent thing, and they challenge it, and they won. They fought, and they won, and in the process, they kind of slimed everyone along the way.
Yeah. So people are looking at that as sort of an analogy now, that here you had this situation, and I remember it, even though I was young at the time, it was in the news and everywhere, that he did this thing and thought, for sure he's going to have to resign.
And again.
And he didn't. But how did they get past that? What was the trick? Was it her sticking by him? What was it?
Well, look, I think a lot of conventions, moral conventions, are about doing the right thing and not being forced to by the law. And they realized that they're just not going to do it. The main way they did it is that they just didn't leave, and they went on the attack against all the accusers and so forth. And the message constantly through the years of the Clinton administration is a man's sexual liaisons don't matter to his job. You know, this is private. Perjury doesn't even matter if it's about sex. And I think a lot of Trump supporters are saying, message received.
Yeah.
Now our guy is living the Bubba standard.
But how do you extend that? So they were obviously able to extend that to the majority, because when you look at, I mean, it would feel like that. If you look at his approval rating when he left office, if you look at the way he's thought about now, even though you have that in the back of your head that he did these things, he still is a popular figure and got past that time when people were very ick about him. So how does that apply to Donald Trump? Because today it feels like the polls are sliding away from him, the Republicans are fleeing from his side.
Look, the one thing we learn is that any of these standards, it's okay for a liberal Democrat to do it, but if a Republican does it, it's a terrible thing. I mean, Newt Gingrich resigned, Bob Livingston resigned over, you know, his private affairs.
Is that really the difference, Republican versus Democrat?
I think it's a big difference, actually, in how they're treated in the press. Look, Donald Trump, there's no, this tape is just an extra level of crudity that we can hear his voice. But he boasted about his affairs in his books with Mary May. There's no surprise. Anyone who pretends they're surprised that this is Donald Trump. But again, we've been told by the Clintons it doesn't matter, and that's what Donald Trump's arguing.
Yeah, maybe it's that there's audio for this one. That could be the difference. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.